Nick and I are about to leave for dinner. It's Friday night and we're headed to Firefly in Studio City to meet my best friend, Eve. Nick recently helped her with a project at work, so it's her way of saying thank you. He's an art director at a marketing firm, and he helped film a video spot for Eve's Cafe in Silver Lake. We live in Los Angeles, in a beautiful Spanish mission-style home that has heated bathroom floors, a lush backyard, and tasteful art. He's been distant lately, preoccupied. We've been married for 10 years now, so I know his stressors. I've chalked it up to work demands, or maybe I shouldn't have brought up the subject of having a baby again a few weeks ago. He looks at his phone a lot, doesn't say much when he leaves in the morning, pours a drink first thing when he comes home at night. I finish putting on my makeup and primping my hair, then grab my bag to head out. As I snatch the keys from the wooden bowl on the entryway table, it occurs to me that my home doesn't feel like home anymore. Nick and I haven't made love in 6 weeks. He's been sleeping with Eve for 5. "How's work going?" Nick asks as I back our Mercedes out of the garage. I roll down my window to dilute the strong scent of his cologne. I hate when he sprays on too much. It's a balmy July evening, still light out enough to enjoy the view of the mansions and modern farmhouses rolling by as we wind our way toward the 101. "It's okay," I sigh, rolling the window back up to protect my hair when the car picks up speed. In truth, I worry I might get fired soon. I'm a civil litigation attorney, but the past few weeks, a more accurate description would be zombie. I haven't been able to focus since I found out about Nick and Eve. "I don't know," I say. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm cut out for all the back and forth arguing in my job, the black hole of hostility." "What's the alternative?" he says absently, checking his phone for what feels like the 100th time since we got in the car. He turns to me briefly, and I catch a glimpse of his perfect green eyes, the ones I fell in love with so many years ago. Except now, instead of pensive, they're distracted. I think instead of all the puffery and threats, I'd prefer a more direct approach to solving my client's problems. "Like what?" he asks. He's still looking at his phone. "Like revenge." He laughs uncomfortably, finally looking up. "I wonder what sort of clientele that would attract." "I've heard it pays better, though," I say. His phone dings, and he directs his attention to it once again. This time he pauses before typing out a reply. Then he punches a few words into the screen, ponders it for a beat, and hits send, his lips pursed. Sliding it back into his pocket, he looks out at the freeway. He seems different now, almost relieved, as though he's come to an important decision. We grind to a halt in a sea of headlights, and Nick rests his hand on my knee. It's the first time he's touched me in weeks, or at least that's what it feels like. "I've missed you lately," he says, leaning toward me and rubbing my leg. I playfully swat away his hand as he twirls a lock of my hair in his fingers. "What are you doing?" He purrs into my neck, then gives it a kiss, his fingers working their way up my thigh. "Get off at this exit." "What? The restaurant is that way. We can be a few minutes late." "Get off here and we can go to that lookout spot we used to like when we lived on the west side." I guess my choice of outfit did the trick. Little black dress with spaghetti straps, one of which he's sliding off my shoulder. Or maybe he's not really yearning for me as much as he's attempting to stall this dinner. "You're crazy," I say. "Come on," he whispers. "We can't be late." Traffic is moving quicker now. My foot feels heavy on the gas pedal. I wonder what would happen if my high heel got stuck on it, if suddenly we found ourselves careening out of control into an embankment or a concrete wall. I wonder if the pain would hurt any more than the pain I feel right now. "We should talk first," Nick says as we approach Firefly. I find a meter and pull in so we don't have to deal with the valet. "What about?" I say, cutting the engine. "You know." Nick is a good guy. Sweet, charming, handsome. Too handsome for his own good. Or maybe not quite handsome enough. Maybe he's not used to female attention and doesn't know how to handle it. Although, this isn't the first time he's strayed. There have been others. But never with my best friend. "What are you trying to say, Nick?" He rubs his eyes. I just think tonight is a bad idea, until we've had a chance to talk about this more. You're being silly. Come on, we're already late. I grab my purse while he remains still. I check my phone and find a new text from Eve 5 minutes ago. You guys coming? It says. I type out a quick reply. On our way. Parked 1 block over. She answers with a thumbs up. I wonder what she and Nick were texting about on the drive over. I'll have to check my spyware app, affectionately referred to as Ho Hunter, on the message board where I learned about it. It's a chat room for people who've been cheated on or going through messy divorces. Eve's text must have been serious, judging by Nick's face when he read that last message. They'd been sleeping together for over a month, so I imagine it wasn't good. Maybe she threatened to tell me. I take Nick's hand and give it a squeeze. Tonight will be fun, I promise. He glares out the window, tight-lipped. Eve makes me uncomfortable. What are you talking about? He turns back to me with a shrug. The way she flirts. She does that with everyone. He sighs, resting his hand on my arm. I didn't want to tell you this before, but I think she has a thing for me. A thing for you? He rubs his stubble with the other hand, weighing his words. Remember when you set up that meeting with her and I a few weeks ago, about the video spot? Eve owns one of those organic, farm-to-table cafes that I frequent when I'm working on a legal brief. One day she and I started talking, and we became fast friends. She's a native Angelino with dirty blonde hair and an artsy apartment in Silver Lake, who surfs and does juice cleanses. I've always admired women like her, the kind of women who believe in the power of the mind over the body, who can meditate and dance and send out healing energy to the universe without the slightest hint of irony, who accessorize with large water bottles without looking like pack animals. It wasn't long before we started spending time together outside the cafe. Movies, drinks, yoga classes. Nick and I even had a few double dates with her and a photographer she used to see, who was supposed to help her with some print ads for the cafe. When they broke up, I suggested Nick shoot a video spot for her that she could use on social media. I was so naive. Did something happen at the meeting? I ask, furrowing my brow and taking his hand, showing concern. Remember to show concern for him, Abbie, but make him feel crazy while doing it, just like he did 2 weeks ago when you asked him why he's been so secretive with his phone. He thinks for a beat, probably wondering if he's overplayed his hand. If he gets too specific, he's going to paint himself into a corner. He'll have to answer questions. No, he says, shaking his head and studying my ring finger. I'm wearing my anniversary band tonight. The one with 10 little diamonds smashed together around a white gold band. Nothing like that. It's just her general vibe. I don't think she's a very good friend to you if she thinks it's appropriate to... To what? I ask, cupping his chin and searching his eyes. He remains silent. I'm telling you, she flirts with everyone, and she dates a lot of guys. I think she's just used to being a certain way with men. She sees a lot of guys, huh? You never mentioned that. He makes a face, pulling away and dropping his eyes. It's typical in this city. People like to keep their options open. His eyes darken. Like who? I laugh and check my lip gloss again. Who does she date, you mean? Yeah, I'm just curious because it must be weird for you to hear about that kind of stuff, being married and all. I wipe away a stray smudge. Not really. He cocks an eyebrow. But to answer your question, a guy in her building, for one thing. I think he's in a rockabilly band or something. And a guy who comes into the cafe all the time who produces one of those true crime shows. He taps his phone against his knee. And you don't mind hanging out with her and hearing all about the single life. I shake my head. What business is it of mine who she sleeps with? Why are you asking anyway? His face relaxes and he kisses me. I'm sorry. Guess I'm just jealous that maybe you'll start to envy her life or something. Don't be silly. Look, I say, taking his hand. We're here so she can buy us dinner and thank you for helping her out. I can phase her out after tonight if you think it's best. He nods. Okay. I get out and drop some coins into the meter while he types a new message into his phone. I wanted to die when I found out about Nick's affair with Eve. How could he? That was my first thought. For what must have been an entire day, I thought I was just having a bad dream and that I'd wake up any minute. And then, a couple days after I installed Ho Hunter on his phone, I got into my car and drove for a very long time. I took the 10 East, till I ended up somewhere out in the Inland Empire, where I pulled over at a gas station near Upland and cried. I felt so stupid, worthless, dirty. I was 19 years old when I met Nick. My entire life had been wrapped up in him and our life together. I couldn't even remember who I was before him. And to read how casual he was in his betrayal, how little he thought of our relationship, it killed me. According to their texts and photos, they even made love up against a boulder at Griffith Park, where we did on our first anniversary. Nick brought ecstasy. I didn't even know he was still in touch with his old dealer, some guy he knew back in college that all their fellow film students called Wizard. According to the texts, Wizard helps Nick with lighting for his side projects and still procures recreational drugs for him occasionally. "Got any hockey tickets, boss?" one of Nick's texts to him read. "Sure," Wizard replied. "How many ounces of hockey tickets do you want?" Hockey tickets. In Los Angeles in July. Nick must be out of his mind leaving all that stuff in writing on his phone. I thought he'd given all that up years ago after we graduated, aside from the occasional edible. But that isn't the worst part. The worst part was the text I found from Eve, written only a couple weeks into their affair. "If you could do it over again, would you be with Abbie?" "I don't know. We were young," was his reply. I must have read those words a million times, and still, I couldn't believe my eyes. What I had always considered fate, finding my soulmate, loving him with my whole heart, he'd considered a youthful indiscretion. And to top it off, I'd had a miscarriage a couple months prior. Dark thoughts began to enter my head. I wondered if they had used protection, if at some point they'd gotten careless and maybe she was carrying his child. Or if it hadn't happened yet, maybe it would in the future. What if he left me for her? What if Nick and Abbie became Nick and Eve, while Abbie ended up a childless divorcee who lived with a roommate she met on Craigslist and had to lie about her age on dating apps? For a week, I went on that same drive every day and parked at that same gas station. The filthy text messages poured into Ho Hunter, while all the love I ever felt for Nick drained right out of the bottom of my feet. Now, sitting next to Nick in one of the booths draped off with red curtains and glowing candlelight, and watching Eve smile at him and play with her diamond earring across the table. Nick bought her the pair 3 weeks ago at Tiffany, according to his credit card statement. I'm learning more and more about myself. "I'll be back in a minute," I say, standing. She won't follow me to the bathroom the way she normally would. She and Nick have things to discuss. I make my way toward the unisex bathroom through the hum of vaguely tribal music, clinking silverware, and laughter from the library bar. 2 brunettes in bandaged dresses are taking a selfie at one of the mirrors, while a tall, balding man sips a cocktail and checks his phone near one of the sinks. Other than that, the coast is clear. I make myself comfortable in the stall on the end, leaning back against the wall and opening their messages. 15 minutes ago, while I fed the meter, Nick typed one in all caps to her. "I hope this dinner isn't keeping you from fucking your neighbor." "What are you talking about?" she replied. "Or the producer, or whoever else you're banging. You're being an idiot. Anyway, what do you care? We were just having fun, remember? It's not what I meant and you know it. I just think we jumped the gun a little about telling Abbie, that's all." I scroll up to see what they were talking about tonight before Nick and I exited the freeway, and my heart sinks. "I'm late," she'd written. "For dinner?" "Nope, not dinner." "What?" "I don't know if there's anything to worry about. I'm taking a test right now. That's why I've been a bitch today. It's not about the dinner." "You told me you were on the pill." "You told me we were going to tell her tonight." Followed up 5 minutes later with a text from Nick. "Well?" "Don't worry, I'll be having drinks tonight." Shit, that was close. "You seem happy." "And you're not?" "You don't have to be a dick about it." "I thought we were having fun. What did you expect to happen?" "Don't worry, I have 0 expectations of you. Less than 0. Can we just get through tonight without making it hell for each other?" Shit, all this talk about telling me tonight. I thought they'd agreed not to. Tonight isn't the right time. Tonight is about establishing that we're all friends, and that I'm none the wiser. For a moment I consider telling them I'm not feeling well and splitting, but I should probably wait, lest they get suspicious. But if there's any sign they're about to confess, I'm gonna have to book it. I'll fake a migraine or tell them I left the stove on. Anything to keep from hearing the truth. Eve chose a green cotton strapless dress that shows off her tan and her implants, a tasteful small C. hair tumbling over her shoulders in waves. When I approach the table, she's leaning in close to Nick, her blue eyes intense as she ponders something he's telling her. "Sorry it took a while," I say, taking a seat. "I got a call from my boss." Nick pulls back from Eve and directs his attention toward me. He seems nervous, his smile forced. "No worries, we ordered some wine." "What did she want?" he says. I shrug and pick up my glass of ice water. She has a new client she wants me to meet with first thing on Monday. Some big wig who owns a chain of grocery stores. One of his factories got shut down by OSHA. "That's great," he says, picking up his menu. "Well, not all the improper handling of chemicals or whatever, but a new client's always a good thing." His nonsensical response tells me he's definitely freaking out about something. "Is he cute?" Eve asks, taking a sip of her red. I shoot her a puzzled glance. "I don't know. Haven't Googled him yet." "Well, if he's cute and single, let me know," she says, shooting a pointed glance at Nick. Nick clears his throat. "I'm thinking about the salmon. What do you think? I feel like it's been forever since I've had fish." Taking a sip of my water, I rub his arm and quietly tell him, "Have whatever you like, honey." Turning back to Eve, I lean forward, resting my elbows on the table. "I thought you started seeing someone." She drops her eyes to her wine glass. "No, single as ever." I enjoy playing with them like this, even though my heart is a broken shell and I have nothing to live for anymore. "That's funny. I could have sworn you told me you were seeing someone." I smell her perfume from across the table. Black tulip. I remember asking her about it during one of our first meetings, and she said she bought it because the name sounded sexy. I should have known. "Well," I say, "you certainly look like someone's making you happy. You're practically glowing." Nick grabs my hand. "They have those olives you like," he says. I turn to him and smile. "Maybe I'll get some then. Do you want a scotch or something? You should go to the bar and grab a drink." "Wine's fine," he says, picking up his glass and turning back to the menu. I feel his eyes stealing a glance at me. There's not a chance in hell he's leaving this table. "It feels like I haven't seen you in forever," I tell her. "What have you been up to?" I lean in close. "By the way, sorry we were late. Nick tried to get me to pull over so we could have sex in the car." Honey," Nick interjects, placing his hand on my shoulder. "I really think you should look at the menu. The server's going to be back any second." Eve glares at Nick. "Stop interrupting your wife, Nick. I want to talk to her about what I've been up to. Now shut your trap." She laughs a little too hard. I wrap my arm around his shoulder and give him a peck. "We're just teasing, honey." I snatch the menu from him playfully and take a glance. "How about I get the steak and you get the salmon? We can share." I peck his cheek again and give his 5 o'clock shadow an affectionate rub while he shifts uncomfortably. Eve takes a longer gulp of her wine this time, dropping her eyes. "Sorry," I say, directing my attention back to her. "Are we being that annoying PDA couple?" "No," she says, picking up her menu and studying it. "We were just talking about that in the car, actually," I say. "Are you going to get those olives too?" Nick says. He thinks it's weird for a married woman to have a single girlfriend. "For an appetizer, I mean," Nick says. "You really liked them last time." "Sure, order them," I say, shooting him a glance. He thinks I'll be jealous of your single life. She glimpses at him over her menu. "Does he?" "Mm-hmm." I crunch an ice chip. "Like if you tell me about all those guys you meet when you go surfing, or like that time you..." I lean in and cut my mouth discreetly. "You banged your neighbor in the pool." It's her turn to squirm now. He thinks I'm going to run off and sleep with his best friend or something. I laugh, shaking my head, and reach for his wine glass to steal a sip. "Abbie, I don't think," Nick says, squeezing my knee. "Sorry, honey," I say, wincing at him apologetically. "Girl talk." Eve sets down her menu and picks up her fork, twirling it with her fingers. "I think I'm going to have a salad. Not feeling like anything too heavy tonight." "I thought you were DD, he whispers to me as I take another sip of his wine. "Shit, you're right," I say, sliding the glass back over to him. Just then, the server comes to the table, and Nick almost audibly sighs with relief. He orders for both of us while I admire Eve's earrings. They're Diamonds by the Yard by Elsa Peretti. Expensive, but not so expensive that I'd notice a large credit card payment being withdrawn from our checking account. I can't remember the last time you bought me a piece of jewelry. "I didn't know you liked that sort of thing," he would say. "You've never really been flashy." When Eve finishes ordering, I widen my eyes in amazement. "What have you been doing to your skin lately? You look amazing." She waves away the compliment. "Nothing. I think it's this new juice blend I've been offering at the shop." Kale and celery, lemon, the usual stuff, but I add nettle to it too. Doesn't nettle sting? She shrugs. Not if you know how to use it. I sit back and beam at her. She's the quintessential boho chic LA knockout, averse to toxins and chemicals, aside from the injectable and surgical variety. I can tell what Nick sees in her. But I can't be bitter. Not tonight, anyway. Tonight, you're admiring her and enjoying your friendship, being extra kind. Remember, she's your best friend and you're a nice person. The nicest. Well, I say, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I lean in toward Nick, raising my glass of water. I like to make a toast. He clears his throat and rubs my arm absently, pulling away to lift his glass. What are we toasting to? To Eve, I say, for being such an awesome friend who never charged me extra for hogging all that space in her cafe. I am forever in your debt. I smile and she raises her glass toward mine with a clink. Wait, isn't it bad luck to toast with water? Nick asks. I make a face at him. I've never heard that before. I have, Eve says, thinking. Not sure where, but I think it's an old superstition. Yeah, I think sailors don't do it, or something like that, Nick says. What do they think will happen if they do? I ask. He sloshes wine around in his mouth for a moment, savoring it, then swallows it with a satisfied exhale. He's buzzed. Someone will drown, he says. Huh, I reply, studying a drop of condensation working its way down my glass. Guess I should avoid large bodies of water. Eve wrinkles her brow, as much as the Botox will allow her anyway. Good thing we're not sailors. Right? Anyway, she says, tipping her glass toward mine once more. My turn to toast. To Abbie. Thank you so much for letting me steal Nick these past few weeks while he helped me out. I owe you one. He blushes as we all clink our glasses together. It was no big deal, he says. Don't say that. I shake my head disapprovingly at him. You spent a lot of time helping Eve do that video for her cafe. Nah, he says, dropping his eyes to his glass and smoothing out his shirt. Don't be so modest. I turn to Eve. He's such a perfectionist. There were some nights when he was gone so late at the studio, I could tell he wanted everything to be perfect, even if he was doing it gratis. Her eyes linger on him for a beat too long. He did work hard on it. Nick spots the server heading our way with the tray of olives and glues his eyes on him. I swear. I nudge his arm with a laugh. These past few weeks, I've been wondering why it's taking so long to get footage of some wheatgrass shots and date truffles. He clenches his jaw, waving the tray over. Abbie, could you make room? Sure, honey. I lean into him so the server can set down the appetizer and wait until Nick pops an olive into his mouth before continuing. I'm just glad you and Nick got to work together. It's important to me that my husband and my best friend get along. Stop there, Abbie. You're laying it on too thick. You don't want to guilt one of them into spilling the beans right here. Nick quickly chokes down the olive. I consider the whole thing a tax write-off. Eve shoots him a death ray glare from across the table, and he turns to me. Listen, honey, I swear I saw Keanu Reeves at the bar when we came in. Do you want to go grab me that scotch and check it out? He must really think I'm an idiot. This is the worst part about knowing everything. Having to play along. Seriously? I crane my neck. Sure, I'll be right back. Grabbing my purse, I make my exit around the corner. Taking a seat at the long booth lining the library area, I glance up at the bar a few feet away, where a brunette wearing a cocktail dress is seated, texting on her phone, a hot pink gift bag perched next to her martini. Probably a gift for her friend's birthday. I wonder if the friend deserves it. I stare at my phone, pretending to check a very important email. After about a minute, enough time for them to squirm, but not enough time for them to agree to blow up all of our lives, I open my robocalling app. I found the link for it in that chat room I've been visiting. I tap a few buttons and get ready to push the pre-recorded message into action. Once everything is set, I order the scotch. When I get back to the table, Eve's arms are crossed over her chest. Her eyes drop to the table as she studies the stem of her wine glass. Nick's back is turned to me as he leans in toward Eve. She spots me and they both straighten up. Hey, Nick says as I reclaim my seat next to him. How'd it go? I set the scotch in front of him with a smile. You were right. It was him. He cocks his head to the side in disbelief. It was? Mm-hmm. Can you believe it? I just met Keanu fucking Reeves. Nick glances over at Eve, who smiles and offers a faint shrug of her shoulders. I think he's my favorite celebrity ever, I tell her. He's so wholesome. And that was him, Nick says, shifting his attention toward the bar area around the corner. The one and only. I told him how I've always admired his work, yada, 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 and that he seems like a really cool person. He was super humble about it. He was. Eve raises her glass. Well, cheers to you, my friend. I've been here all my life, and I have yet to meet any of my idols. I always fantasize about Gwyneth Paltrow strolling into the shop someday, and he was humble about it, Nick says skeptically. Yep. He said, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like he took me into his arms and begged me to run away with him, but I think it's a good start, don't you? I laugh and kiss him on the cheek. He furrows his brow. Yeah, it's great, Abbie. Did you get a selfie with him? Eve asks. I shake my head. I couldn't ask. I would have felt ridiculous. Now I wish I would have, though. I still can't believe that was him, Nick says, turning toward the bar area again. I give his neck an affectionate rub, recalling a few weeks ago when he disappeared into the bathroom with his phone for a whole hour, probably exchanging dirty photos with Eve. Aw, honey, did you think you were imagining things? I say. That you were crazy or something? No, it's just... The server arrives with our entrees. As he sets them down, I make sure my purse is resting right beside me so I can reach in and make my robocall discreetly. Eve digs into her salad, and Nick takes a sip of scotch, still brooding about my fictional meet cute with Keanu. I pretend not to notice the dark cloud hanging over him and take a bite of my steak instead. It's salty and juicy, delicious. Between bites, Eve and I discuss the yoga space she's thinking of adding into the cafe. She wants instructors to rent out the space from her to hold classes, drawing in more hungry and thirsty patrons. I praise her business acumen, telling her she's a genius, destined to give Gwyneth a run for her money in the lifestyle and wellness space. Nick stays quiet while we chat, pushing his food around with a fork and polishing off the last few sips of scotch. How's your salmon? She says to Nick. He's only taken a couple of bites. Something is weighing on him. It's fine, he says, taking another sip. I'm just not very hungry. Too many olives. Eve wipes her mouth and stands. I'll be right back. I'm about to ask if she wants me to come with her, but Nick squeezes my knee underneath the table. Once she's gone, he clenches his jaw and slings his arm around the back of the booth, leaning in. Is everything okay? He says quietly, his eyes checking the room for eavesdroppers. Yeah, why? I pierce my fork into another bite of steak. Because you're acting weird? What do you mean? I pop it into my mouth and stare at him blankly. The compliments? You're never effusive, especially to this level. What are you talking about? I mumble, chewing and picking a strand of steak from my teeth with my pinky nail. You just called her a literal genius. You sound like a freaking Kardashian. What's up with that? I shake my head. I really don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you're not used to listening to two girlfriends having dinner conversation. He raises his eyebrows. The Keanu Reeves thing? Come on. What? I saw him at the bar. You saw him too. I didn't... He catches himself and sighs. I just feel like we should wrap up this dinner. I don't want you doing or saying something you're going to regret. I shrug my shoulders in bewilderment. I don't know what's up with you. We came here to have a nice dinner so she can thank you for all the work you did. We're having a good time. I saw Keanu Reeves. What's the problem? He purses his lips. This whole dinner was a mistake. What? Are you still on about what we talked about in the car? You know, I realize after seeing Eve tonight that she's just an exuberant person. I don't think you're used to that. It comes off as flirty. She hasn't been flirty tonight, though, or exuberant. I make a face. How has she been? His nostrils flare as he takes another drink of scotch, the ice chips crashing against his lips in a heap. He sets down the glass and reaches for his wine. I'm just worried is all, he says. Well, don't be. It's all in your head. Maybe you're just feeling work pressure. He nods, licking scotch from his lips. Maybe. I rest my hand on his arm. Everything is fine. I pause, nuzzling into him. But you're right. Eve does seem off tonight. A little down, maybe? I wonder what's up. Who knows? Women have a way of being cold and distant. He spots Eve rounding the corner and sits up straight. We're good, he whispers to me. I nod. We're good. Picking up my fork, I smile when she sits down and stab it into a fry. What did you think of the unisex bathroom? She wrinkles her nose and picks up her wine glass. I don't know if I'm ready. I feel self-conscious reapplying my lip gloss in front of a urinal. Yeah, it feels like its eyes are following you, right? I don't know, Nick says. It's been like that for years, and the place is still always slammed. I stop listening and slide my hand into my purse, pressing the send button on my robocalling app. Hang on, I have to take this, Nick says, picking up his phone and furrowing his brow. He turns away from us and picks up, speaking quietly. Eve leans in across the table. I'm glad we did this. Me too. It feels like it's been forever. I want us to catch up, for real. Just us, she says. Me too. I glance over at Nick. His eyes meet mine and he shakes his head. What? I mouth to him, but he just holds up one finger. I turn back to Eve. When do you have time? You've been so busy lately. She drops her eyes to the table. I know. She wants to say more, I can tell. I steal another glance at Nick. He's still listening. Lowering my voice, I say, You know, if there's a new guy, you can tell me about it. Nick hangs up and turns to me. We have to go. What? That was the alarm company. Some kind of automated message. Apparently the alarm at the studio was tripped. It said law enforcement has been contacted. Oh no, do you think someone broke in? He grunts. No, I think it's the same as last time. Something fell and set off a motion sensor. Oh, great. I'll get the check, he says, holding up his arm and trying to get the server's attention. No, tonight's on me, remember? Eve says. Do we both have to go? I ask. He turns to me, annoyed. If we don't, I could get fined for another false alarm. Yeah, but maybe you can Uber or something? Why? He glances at Eve, then back at me. Because I'm feeling tired. I feel like I should go home. He picks up his wine glass and polishes it off. Fine, but I can't wait for an Uber. Can I have the keys? But you... My eyes shift to the empty wine goblet and the ice chips in his lowball glass. It's fine, he says, waving away my concern. I can drive after having 2 drinks. I'm not 12 years old. I reluctantly reach into my purse and hand them to him. That scotch was a double, but who's counting? You're going home, he says, locking eyes with mine. I told you I'm tired. He darts his eyes at Eve one last time, but she's finishing off her salad and checking out a birthday gathering at the next table over. Okay, I'll be home later, he says, pecking my cheek and sliding out of the booth. I squeeze his hand as he slips away. Bye, Nick, I whisper. A lump wells in my throat, but I swallow it down. Once he's gone, Eve turns to me. You're not really going home, are you? Hell no, I laugh as the server approaches our table with the check. I've got a bottle of that vodka you love back at my place, she says, as he sets it down in the center of the table. I'm in. I thought that's what you'd say. Just let me make a quick phone call, I say. We catch an Uber back to her place. She's quieter now, checking her phone regularly and sliding it back into her bag, gazing out the window as the 101 flies by. It's dark, so I can't read her face that well, but I can tell something is bothering her. When we get off the freeway, we pass by a tent encampment under the overpass. This city's so depressing sometimes, she says, turning to glance at me before directing her attention back to the piles of garbage strewn about, flames dancing at the top of a metal waste can. Sometimes, I say. She ignores my sarcasm. It's lonely. I know. She sniffs. It's hard connecting with people. I check my phone. It's been 20 minutes since Nick left the restaurant, and I haven't heard from him. Maybe my phone call worked. What happened to Barlow, that photographer you were dating? Nick and I liked him. The driver, a quiet young woman with dark hair peeking out from beneath a baseball cap, glances at us through the rearview mirror. She turned the radio down as soon as we got into her car and hasn't touched the knob since. She's eavesdropping. Eve shrugs. Guys in this city have too many options. They don't want to commit to just one person. Not for a long time, anyway. I lean my head against her shoulder. You'll find someone. Look at Nick. He's from here, and he's been committed for 10 years and counting. She pauses, staring out the window again. Good ones are always taken, and I'm getting older. You're 34, I say, rubbing her arm, not 80, and you're beautiful and talented and athletic. The list goes on. You have no reason to be lonely. She takes a deep breath and exhales, weighing her words. Turning to me, she frowns. I think it's hard for someone like you to know what it's like for someone like me. I catch the driver's eye in the rearview mirror, but she averts my gaze. I don't know. Anyone can feel alone, especially in this city. It's like People look right through you unless they think you can do something for them. I went for a hike in Topanga the other day, and right there in the middle of the mountains all by myself, I actually felt, seen, understood. By the mountains? A tiny smile tugs at the corner of her lips. I shrug. I know it sounds crazy. I think being alone out there made me feel a part of something. We're all just animals, foraging and scrounging for food and water and shelter. Safety. None of the normal bullshit people scrounge for around here. She nods. Overpriced sneakers and more followers. I nudge her with my elbow. Now you're getting it. It's her turn to rest her head on my shoulder. Maybe I need to go live on a mountain somewhere. I take her hand and squeeze it. Maybe I'll join you. When we get back to her place, she makes a beeline for the bathroom. Too much wine, she calls from around the corner. The vodka's in the freezer, help yourself. Her apartment has an eclectic vibe that's popular in Silver Lake. A turntable and racks of vinyl stand in place of a television set. A collection of throw pillows and poofs lie on the floor nearby. Photographs of LA landmarks hang near the entryway and over the blue velvet sofa. The Griffith Observatory, the Hollywood sign, Palm Drive. The galley kitchen is dated, but full of cute mid-century details like glass cabinet doors and a pastel blue stand mixer. The bedroom is mostly white with fluffy bedding. Looks cozy. I don't dare go near it, though. Knowing how many afternoons Eve and Nick have spent there will only trigger me, and I need to remain focused. What are you having? I call to her. She hums, thinking, I should stick with wine. There's an open bottle in the fridge. I check Ho Hunter on my phone and see that Eve texted Nick while I was making my call, but he hasn't responded. I don't know if I can wait, she wrote. Opening the refrigerator and retrieving the bottle of Riesling, I check for any potential mixers she has and go with a bottle of organic lemonade on the top shelf. As I prepare our drinks, I check the time again. It's been about 40 minutes now since Nick left the restaurant, and he still hasn't responded to her text. I take a gulp of vodka lemonade and remind myself to remain steadfast when it comes to my plan. Eve reappears wearing a black V-neck tee and cropped yoga pants. She has a great body. I'm no slouch myself, but I don't invest as much time and nettle into mine as she does, and the contrast is clear. Some might say stark. I don't see any sign of her diamond earrings anymore. She took them off when she changed. I hand her the wine glass, and she strikes a dramatic pose, holding it close to her face as her eyes widen. You're probably wondering why I invited you here tonight, she says dramatically. I laugh and wave away her theatrics. You say that every time I come over. And it never gets old, does it? Never. But I do have a pretty good idea of why you invited me here. To drink and gossip. Shows what you know, she says, leading me into the living room. There's also a non-zero chance that we'll Postmates Burger Lounge. I love those pants, I tell her. She smiles and takes a sip, doing a little twirl. Thanks. I'm thinking of starting my own yoga wear line. There's tons of money in it. Kate Hudson is like a bazillionaire now. And what the hell does she have that I don't? She laughs and takes another drink. Besides fame and clout and celebrity parents. And I think an Oscar. Her mouth drops open. No. I shrug. I think so. Or maybe she was just nominated, in which case I think that's a wash. Yeah, my cafe was included on a list of vegan eats we don't hate by LAist, she pouts. So there, Kate Hudson. I tip my glass to her. Put that in your incense burner and... She cocks her head to the side quizzically. And burn it, I say? Yeah, burn it. She takes a longer gulp this time and winces as she swallows. I need to stop drinking white wine. There's a certain age at which a woman can no longer drink white wine. You're not there yet. Maybe once we're both on HRT and shopping at Chico's or something. I take a seat on the velvet sofa and rub my hands across the fabric while she flips through the records. The color reminds me of a lagoon. Blue, dreamy, inspiring. Eve chooses Amy Winehouse and sets it on the turntable, flipping the power switch. Good choice, I say, nodding as the opening bass starts thumping. I love this one, she says. She was such an unapologetic mess. I mumble, lying back against the plush cushions. There's something comforting in that. It's nice to have someone who can empathize. She does a little dance, a cha-cha of sorts, while she sips her wine. I watch her and giggle as she playfully flips me off. I just need to dance tonight. she says, squeezing her eyes shut as she shimmies back and forth rhythmically. I need to forget about my life for a while. Oh, come on, I say, sitting up. I think you're being a little dramatic. When I met you, I thought you had the most glamorous, exciting life ever. You own your own business, you have this amazing yoga body, you have all these men after you. She shakes her head, turning her back to me and pausing to drink her wine. It's a front, she says, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand before she resumes dancing. My business is tanking. All the men in my life suck, and she flops onto the floor in front of the coffee table, a few drops of wine sloshing over the side of her glass as she tugs one of the throw pillows from the pile and hugs it against her body. I hate yoga. No, you don't, I laugh, rolling my eyes as I sip. And besides, who cares about yoga? That was just one example. You're also super funny. We always have a great time together. She nods. Even though... Then she stops herself. Even though what? She polishes off the glass and stands. Nothing. I need another. Do you need me to top you off? Not yet, but I will in a minute, I say as she heads into the kitchen. Hey, I call after her. Even though what? A quiet hangs over the room as she refreshes her wine and makes her way back to her perch in front of the coffee table. She's pensive now, her brow furrowed as she drinks. Finally, she shrugs and sets down her glass, rubbing the stem of it with her fingertip. We always have a great time together even though we don't really have anything in common. She's right, of course, but something about hearing her say it out loud sends a pang of resentment through my chest. In her mind, being beautiful and glamorous and desirable is the complete opposite of me. I don't know about that, I say, studying the ice chips at the bottom of my tumbler. My drink is almost gone. I need to slow down. She props one elbow onto the table and rests her chin in her hand. I didn't mean anything by it, she sighs. You're kind of an introvert, you know? I guess. But you're brilliant. I mean, you're a lawyer and you have a great house, a great husband. She takes a long sip after that last part. I shrug. It's not all perfect, believe me. She frowns. I don't know. You two seem to be getting along well. I think so, but I don't know. How well can you ever really know another person? Her eyelids droop and she remains quiet. It almost appears as though she's nodding off. Hey, Earth to Eve, I say, waving my hand in front of her. What's up? She says, sitting up straight. I don't know. You were lost in thought, I think. Yeah, sorry, she says, pulling her hand away from the glass. We were talking about love, remember? Nodding, she makes a face at her wine and adjusts her legs, crossing them and resting her hands on her knees in a modified lotus. Exhaling deeply, she locks eyes with mine. What is it? I say. She subtly shakes her head. Nothing. Then she thinks better of that response. Actually, there is a reason I asked you over here tonight. Oh, yeah? Yeah. But now I feel, stupid. She yawns. Widely, loudly, deeply enough to make her eyes water. And now I'm suddenly very tired for some reason. Yeah, what's up with that? I don't know, sorry. I think I've been running myself ragged at the cafe, trying to drum up business. What were you going to say that made you feel stupid? She hesitates. Nothing. I lean down closer to her. Come on, we're drinking tonight. You can say whatever's on your mind and just blame it on the alcohol tomorrow. She gnaws on her lip. If I do, I'm going to regret it. Regret what? Telling you what I need to tell you. My pulse quickens. This is it. What do you need to tell me? She lifts her glass and takes a huge drink this time, making an audible glug as she swallows. You know how Nick helped me with that commercial for my shop. Of course, that's why we went out to dinner tonight, so you could thank us. She winces. It's hard to talk about this. Okay, like really hard. Did something happen? She nods, exhaling slowly and rubbing her forehead. You could say that. I remain quiet, letting her words hang in the air while I take the last sip of my cocktail. She finishes her wine, goes to the kitchen, and comes back drinking from a full glass again. That's the last of the bottle, I'm pretty sure. I wait for her to get down to the halfway mark while I let the music flood my brain. Amy Winehouse is crooning about doomed love. Nick is out there somewhere, lost, and Eve is about to spill her guts. I swallow hard. I'm not sure what to say, I whisper. She frowns at her wine glass. He told me he loves me. That's another lie. I haven't seen a single I love you in Ho Hunter yet. I set down my tumbler on the coffee table and hang it in my hands. When? Tonight, she says softly, while you were in the bathroom. It makes sense. He told her that so she'd keep her mouth shut at dinner, to buy himself time so he can figure out his next move. A divorce would be messy, expensive, and whether he wants to admit it or not, Nick enjoys our life together. It's comfortable. We know each other. We accept each other's flaws. And deep down, he doesn't want to start over again, only to arrive at the same destination, but with half the money, 10 years from now. I love you was his only option. Please say something, Abbie. She furrows her brow and sets down her glass with a shake of her head. I'm really sorry. Look, forget what I said. I was just kidding. I need another drink, I say. Me too. I go into the kitchen and refresh my vodka, 86ing the lemonade. I pour one for her too, but add lemonade to hers to remove the sting. I set down the drink in front of her. Why are you the one telling me and not him? She takes a sip of the cocktail. She's had a lot to drink, and she should probably slow down. But what's the old saying? Never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. Clearing her throat, she starts to say something but pauses, eyelids drooping. Can I confess something? I say. She nods, mumbling something unintelligible as she takes another drink. I know about you and Nick, Eve. I have known for a while. Just then the tumbler slips from her grasp and it lands with a thud, spilling ice and vodka everywhere and rolling off the table onto the rug. Are you okay? I say, grabbing it and placing it back onto the coffee table. You look funny. She shakes her head and makes a face. I'm just tired. It's been such a... As her voice trails off, I go to the kitchen to pour her another cocktail. When I return, I place it in front of her and take a seat across from her on the opposite side of the coffee table so I can enjoy the view. Drink up, I say. It's okay. The best thing to do right now is drink. She shakes her head. You knew about me and... Yeah, I say, and I want you to know it's okay. It's okay that you made a mistake. It's okay to feel depressed about it. It's okay to want to off yourself. Her eyes widen. What are you talking? Shh, I say, raising a finger to my lips. You don't need to say it. Everyone saw it tonight. There's a dark cloud hanging over you. I noticed it. Nick did too. He sensed something was off back at the restaurant. The Uber driver heard you talking about how lonely you are. It won't be a surprise. Her breath becomes labored now as her eyelids grow heavier and heavier. She grips the edge of the coffee table to try and stand, but she can't muster the strength. You're not the only one who can come up with imaginative drink recipes, I say as she struggles to keep her eyes open. It isn't nettle or anything, but I don't know. I think I came up with something kind of great. I had all sorts of things lying around the house that I'd completely forgotten about. Leftover pain meds from my D&C I had after my miscarriage. Anti-anxiety meds for all the feelings. Some nausea stuff too, so you won't feel sick or anything. You won't suffer. Not as much as I have. It was easy to just crush it all up into a baggie and bring it here. Play bartender. I poured most of it into the wine bottle with a few remaining crumbs into that cocktail you were just drinking. It's sort of like how you put herbs into juices and smoothies for your customers. You know it's good for them, but the taste will be off, so you do what you can to... You're crazy, she hisses, attempting to stand once more, but this time her arm slips out from under her, and her head lands with a thud against the wood. Careful, careful, I say, helping her sit up straight. We don't want any bruises to raise questions. She mumbles in protest. I can't. It's okay, I tell her, slipping my arm around her waist. She tries to push me away, but her muscles are weak. You need to relax. She raises her arm once more to shove me, but it just flops helplessly into my lap. Eve, I whisper, nudging her. She doesn't answer. Eve, I repeat, louder this time. Still nothing. Good. I let her slip to the floor, then grab her purse from the counter. Her phone is inside. I slide it out, then lift Eve's finger and press it toward the screen, unlocking it. The first thing I do is go to her settings and turn off Touch ID in favor of a passcode. Then I set it aside, kneel down next to her, and run my fingers across her arm. It's still warm. A hot bath will be nice, I whisper in her ear, inhaling her coconut shampoo. Or maybe it's the post-sun moisturizer she uses after she's been surfing. She smells delicious. Like a macaroon. I stroke a lock of her hair and imagine Nick burying his face into her neck, lying on top of her and drinking in her smell, the softness of her skin. I lay her down onto the rug and smooth out her hair. Her eyelids are painted with a taupe shadow with thick false lashes, highlighting the blue that's normally there when she's conscious and posing in downward dog. Crushing herbs in her mortal and pestle, or staring deeply into my husband's eyes as she makes love to him. Lifting her by her tanned ankles, I muster all my strength to drag her to the bathroom, where I go about undressing her, starting with her yoga pants. I want you to know it means a lot to me that you told me about you and Nick, I tell her as I untie the drawstring. I know how hard that must have been, and I appreciate it. It shows me you really care about our friendship. Sliding them down, I let my gaze linger over her long, muscular legs, her black thong with nary a stray hair peeking out from the edges. I admire women who maintain strict grooming schedules. I can never do it. I'm too distracted, scattered. But, I tell her, lifting her t-shirt, I think we should see a little less of each other. It's hard for me to be around someone who's so morose all the time, someone who abuses pills to get by. I'm afraid you'll only drag me down. I finish undressing her as quickly as possible, and then the real work of lifting her begins. She's light, but so am I. I'm not as fit as she is, and I can't remember the last time I did an actual push-up. But surprisingly, as I slip my hands under her armpits, I find that pulling her up to a sitting position isn't that difficult. I just need to muster my anger, harness all the leaden emptiness of ignoring, for weeks, things I shouldn't have ignored, loving someone for years that I shouldn't have loved. Once I've managed to move the bulk of her into the tub, I step outside of it so I can grab her legs, which are dangling over the edge, and shove them in. Her body is curled into the fetal position, her mouth hanging open, and one side of her face smushed into the white ceramic of the tub. I decide not to move her anymore since she looks peaceful, like someone who took too many pills and drank too much wine and passed out during a bath, or a sailor who drowned at sea. I turn on the hot water and plug the tub, then go to the living room to retrieve her cocktail. I go over all of my steps as I set it on the edge of the tub and wipe off any prints I may have left. I have to remember not to leave a trace, not to make any mistakes. I can't make Eve disappear, but I can paint a picture of what happened to her. I take my own glass to the kitchen, wash it, dry it, and place it back into the cabinet where I found it. I'm not worried about fingerprints so much since I've been to her place so many times that it won't be unusual if the police find them on a doorknob or in the kitchen. The most important part of my plan, though, is to make sure I lock the door on my way out. I need to eliminate any signs that an intruder may have been here. We exchanged keys a while back for safekeeping, so this won't be difficult. But I need to take back her copy of mine. If the police find it, it might tip them off that I have a copy of hers as well. I grab her key ring from the counter and slip off the key to Nick's in my house. When I go back into the bathroom to turn off the water, there's steam rising from the tub, and the lower half of her face is entirely submerged, along with the rest of her body. The water is scalding hot, but her skin remains unbothered. No pink or red blotches from the burn, no circulation. I think she's gone. The gravity of what I've done hits me, and I fall to my knees beside the tub, inhaling deeply as I gaze at a lock of her blonde hair floating next to her cheek, the waterlogged end dimmed to a mousy brown. She's still beautiful. I reach over to tuck a strand of hair behind her when I remember the earrings. I need to find them. Quickly, I sweep the bedroom for any signs. On the nightstand, in the dresser drawers, no luck. When I get back to the bathroom and check the medicine chest, though, I'm in luck. She must have seen her reflection when we got back here, and the guilt got to her. She had to take them off. I kneel down to slide them onto her lobes, securing the backs of them with a strong pinch. It'll look more tragic that way. How attached she was to them. How tightly she wore them on that last night as she lay dying. They suit her. And Nick would be right in thinking I wouldn't wear anything flashy like that, so I can understand why he bought them for her and not for me. I grab a washcloth, rub out the fingerprints on the earrings, and drop it into the water. "Bye, Eve," I whisper. I stand, exhaling deeply, my eyes catching the melted ice chips in her glass, the arch of her neck, her polished pink fingernails resting on the bottom of the tub beneath the clear water. Something about being here with her feels very old Hollywood. The blonde stunner who met her untimely demise in a bathtub. A health nut hiding the secret pain of addiction. A doomed love affair that drove a promising young woman to a grim fate. "Oh," I say on the way out, stopping myself from turning out the light instinctively. "One more thing. The market is really saturated with athletic wear. You would have been eaten alive." I make sure to take the other small baggie I brought with me, the one containing a few stray pills, and leave it in her purse, shifting the plastic so that the edge peeks out from beneath the flap. The Amy Winehouse record left on the turntable is just icing on the cake. I grab her phone, open it with the new passcode, and delete Nick's phone number from her contacts. Then I select their entire text message thread and delete that too. I peruse any photos she took the past 5 weeks and, surprisingly, don't see any of him. He was the photographer in their relationship, I guess. And then open her email and search for any messages between them. There are a few from when they were first chatting about their upcoming meeting, so I delete those. Then I do a quick check of her social media. Nick isn't on her Facebook, but he does follow her on Instagram, so I remove him. I don't see anything on Snapchat or TikTok, so I'm safe there. Then I lock the phone, wipe it down with the kitchen towel, and set it on the counter next to her purse. I don't think the police will bother trying to crack the code, so deleting everything was probably overkill, but you never know. I don't worry about security cameras around here since her apartment building is so dated and poorly managed that none of them actually work. Eve has told me tenants complain all the time of car break-ins and package thefts, but no footage of the perpetrators is ever caught on tape. Besides, if the police question me, I'm going to tell the truth. That we went back to her place and had drinks, but she got moody and I left. I'll make sure they understand how much she meant to me. The beautiful friendship we shared. How fragile she was. A wounded bird that I desperately hoped would heal somehow. I'll be soft-spoken, gentle. I'll ask them to withhold any unseemly details to her parents when they break the news. They'll know I couldn't have had anything to do with it. But I don't think I'll be seeing the police at my door, since this sort of thing happens all the time in LA. This place can eat you alive. And no matter how many meteorologists deem it a Mediterranean climate or how many locals boast of the mild temperatures and eternal sunshine, Los Angeles has always been, and will forever remain, a cold, cold place. I decide to walk for a while before I call for a car. I check my phone for any missed calls or texts from Nick, but there aren't any. When I called the police back at the restaurant and told the dispatcher that my husband had been drinking and seemed unstable and was driving under the influence to his office, I figured they'd ignore my complaint since they usually have bigger fish to fry. But I did mention the large amount of ecstasy he was transporting in the console of the vehicle, so maybe they took the call a little more seriously than I predicted. I snuck his stash into it before we drove to dinner and added a few more tablets to give it a little heft. It's amazing what you can procure in this city with a little bit of cash and one small connection made online. I call an Uber. When it arrives, I get inside and think about me and Nick. I couldn't kill him since he's too close. I would have been the prime suspect. And I'm not prepared to give up my freedom for revenge just yet, so I'll have to settle for trying to take as much of his as I can. Maybe he'll get off. Maybe he'll come home and mend his ways. Or maybe he'll go away for a long time. I really did love him. I don't know if I'll ever see him again, or if I'll ever get to the point where I miss him, to the point where I miss her. It doesn't matter. I miss a lot of things. And how can you ever really appreciate a time or a place or a person until they're gone? Nick was right. We were young. And now we're not anymore. I open the window, breathe in the cold night air, and smile.